Right. Which leads me to my next question. Well, not a lot of people might share the same sentiment, but certainly it feels like a new chapter for the US. A lot of policies, especially like talking about immigration, have been changed since a new president came in. But I mean, you've openly talked about how difficult it was to be a person of color moving around America during the Trump era. Has it changed? Like from when Yellow Rose was conceived, when it was made to today, right? Like, has anything changed, or has there been substantial change? Um, I guess
From
in
when it,
how, yeah,
uh, I don't know. I don't know. The funny thing was that when President Trump became the president, that was the first time I actually felt, oh God, I'm a person of color.
right,
You know, that's when that kind of dawned on me that, oh, and then expletive, expletive, expletive. What am I? How am I going to navigate
right,
this reality? So and I don't ever remember having felt that way. Even though, I mean, I've always been aware that I was a person of color. I mean, I still am. That's not going to change. Um, but that was, I think, the first time I felt apprehensive about it.
right,
And yeah, and then hearing about other Filipino Americans' experiences during the Trump era, it was very eye opening
mm-hmm,
and frightening
right,
because, I mean, one of my friends was on her way to the post office and she got spat on. And
right,
this was already during the pandemic. It had already
right.
started.
Oh gosh,
So, yeah. So, I mean, there was the racism became more overt um, because it seemed like people had permission to be racist.
right,
And so it was something that I felt, I would ask my manager, okay, are we going, because I was on tour um, during doing concerts. I mean, I said, are we, do I have to worry about where we're going? you know? Um, and he's like, no, we are definitely going to places that are friendly and people that really want to see you and people who are excited to see you. That's where we're going. We're not going into unfriendly territory.
right,
But the
right,
reality will really hit when, at the time, my 13 going on 14-year-old would ask the question before I'd have to step out on stage. And the last time I was on tour in the US, I was still on crutches and a wheelchair. She would ask the question, are you going to be okay?
right,
And it wasn't a question of, are you going to be all right? Are you having difficulty singing? Are you going to be okay just sitting there on stage? It was a safety issue.
right,
She was like, are you going to be safe on that stage? Are you going to be okay? And so for her to have that kind of anxiety on my behalf, it says a lot, and as much as she's being raised here, she's also an American. And so for
mhm,
her to have that in her head, it's like, is my mother going to be safe in the safest place that she knows herself to
right.
be in? It's interesting, diba? It's a very interesting
And for someone
place
so
to
young,
be in. And for someone so young to be aware
right,
and astutely aware of that, it's yeah. So for her to have safety concerns for me, doing what I love to do, and for me to feel, and the stage, I normally consider a stage to be one of the safest
of
places
course,
for me personally, where I can feel the most free to do my job. And so for my daughter to bring that up, it's like, okay, now do I now have to be afraid
right,
for myself? And it's not enough to think about how I have to sing each song. I mean, that in and of itself, doing a show, that's enough, It's it's a huge deal. So to add that layer on top of how difficult the job is already, and then I have to carry that when I'm on stage.
mm-hmm,
So it's yeah. So I have to say a prayer, it's like, please God, just let me get off the stage. Let me hobble off the stage in one piece.
right.
I shouldn't have to wish for that.
Nobody
That should
deserves that kind of added anxiety for sure.
Yeah, nobody does. Nobody ever does. For many performers of any color or creed or affiliation, stage is our safe place. That's our safe haven. That is where we feel the most freedom to be creative and expressive and tell stories and do what it is we felt we were gifted by God to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and to suddenly feel fearful of that, it's not something that any of us needs to add on top of what we already have to do.